There, ladies and gentlemen, I do hope you're well. My name is Average J, and this is my review for Robots, which is a free-to-play first-person shooter that has no ads on it. You're impressed already, right? So basically, the game works really well because it has a brilliant financial model, let's say, because the guns are they're reasonably priced. You can easily buy everything in game, but there's a couple of guns that if you want to use, I think like the 44 Magnum and a couple of others, you buy with real money. But it's not like, oh well, if you want to use this gun, you've got to spend tenner or something. It's literally a couple of quid, if that, and then you'll get the gun, and it will give you funds so you can upgrade the weapon as well. And I just found it to be really reasonable. Of all the games that I've played, this one really stood out as being, something I was happy to put my money into because nothing seems out of whack, out of balance. There's quite a few weapons to choose from. It's sort of a shame that there's not more incentive to use a lot of them. You're just going to get the couple of best ones, and then that's it. You can upgrade them. As you can see, everything's maxed out on mine because I've played it a hell of a lot. You start with iron sights on every weapon, but then you can get red dot sights and ACOG sights with every weapon. I mean, that's like pistols as well, so that's pretty. I thought that was pretty cool. There are power-ups, and you can pay to upgrade those as well. And you really notice the upgrade time while you're playing. That impressed me. The reason I started in the armory was because that was probably the most impressive thing about the game. The least impressive, at least sounding, is that it has one mode, and that's survival, 2 maps, and 2 enemy types, and that's it. It sounds horrendous when you describe it like that, but when you consider that it is free to play and it is fairly reasonable, it doesn't seem that bad. I mean, I didn't think it was that bad. I mean, you've got two maps. As you can see, my round record is 19 on that one, and then the other one it's 21. We begin. Playing with on-screen controls is really difficult because you've got like your usual sort of the sticks, but then they have these boxes. I mean, they've done what they can with it. Like, you can fully customize where your buttons go on the screen, which is really good. It's still, I don't know, there's no perfect way to do it. There's not like auto fire or anything, and with a controller it works infinitely better. I mean, it really is brilliant. It's brilliant with a controller. It's just, it feels like a console quality first person shooter. Visually, it's basic with its sort of, pastel colours and that, but that's the differences between the maps. Basically, it's the layout is different, but one's red, one's blue. That's your main difference. So basically, it's endless waves of these robots, and then every third round you get a boss one. It's just like a big different coloured one that comes down. These weapon boxes, that's obviously where you buy more weapons and you can restock your ammo. That's the boss thing. As you can see, I've got mad skills in this. I should have bought a gun. Alright? When I got $2,000 in the game, I can afford to buy a really good gun, and instead I was like, nah, I got this. I didn't got this. So that's a good enough excuse for me to go back to the main menu and show you the other map. Not that I really showed you that map, but don't judge me. So yeah, I mean, it does lack in that, you can only do one thing in the game, and you can only face those 2 enemy types you just saw, and that's all you'll get. They do get harder and harder, and you get more and more of them. But this is the other map. It's sort of refreshing at first when you go from one map to another, because you've just been slugging it out for 20 rounds, and then you come to this one, and it's like, oh look, it's red. It's refreshing on the eyes for a little while. But extra damage is obviously my favourite pickup. Infinite ammo is good, but it has one flaw that is actually kind of pants, and that's that if you don't have any ammo, your gun's empty, and then you pick it up, you're like, oh, there you go, thank God there's infinite ammo there. You pick that up, it won't do anything. Your gun has to have at least one round in it for it to work. So if you don't, then it's like, oh, you've got infinite nothing. Oh, that's awesome, thanks. So it's not the most impressive pickup at times, but once you get to, you know, your round 3, you'll have more. I mean, you could buy a gun now, but it will be something smaller. So I'll try not to buy one too early. There you go. $2 grand is what I'd need for my my favourite gun. Each weapon case, like where they're laid out throughout the level, you can't just get any gun from any case. Certain ones have certain guns in, which I wasn't actually that impressed with in the beginning, because I wanted to. I find my favourite place to hold up or whatever, and I want to stay there. But if it doesn't do my gun, I've got to make sure I go somewhere else to get the gun that I want in order to, you know, hold up wherever it is I choose. But we go to the store, and I like this thing right there. And this is awesome. This is I believe this is one of the paid for guns, and it shows because it's amazing. So, you know, at least you pay for it, you get your money's worth. You pay to open doors, which essentially just makes the level bigger. So it means that it gives you more space to run, but it also gives them more places that they can spawn from, all these robots. The boss always drops down in the same place though, it's always in the middle of this room. So yeah, as you can see, it runs really smoothly. Well, I don't know how well it's going to come through in the video, because, you know, my phone being a bit not all that great. I mean, I've got a Samsung Galaxy S5, so it's not a particularly up-to-date phone, and when I'm not recording, it's silky smooth, so hopefully it comes through just fine. So, you know, I have no real issues with that. The performance of it is great, even on a fairly low-end phone. And it can get pretty crazy, I've got to say, it really can. But it's fast and it's fluid with a controller. But when you're trying to move, you know, you're trying to turn around really quickly, you're constantly, like, you know, moving your finger across the screen over and over again to try and turn. I didn't know whether it was just me that was having troubles, because I hated it without a controller. I was using it in the beginning and I just said this is terrible, and then when it was time to do the review, I was like, is it that bad, or is it just me? Can I just, like, not function with these game controls? So I decided to put it to the test, and my girlfriend, who had never touched the game before, I said, look, do this. This is basically how the game works. Can you survive for as long as you can with the on-screen controls? And she made it to round 3. And I said, like, how was that? And she was like, oh, no, the controls weren't bad. They were okay, actually. I find them okay. You get the usual sort of problems. But no, she managed okay. And then I put my beacon call in and was like, all right, now can you try it again now? And, you know, she made it to round 10. And, you know, she, even then, she was annoyed she died. Because, you know, she was like, oh, no, I just needed to do this or that. Yes, it's always the way when you die. If you'd just done something slightly differently, you wouldn't have. But either way, you know, she got a lot further and found it a lot easier to use. So, you know, that for me, that was alright. That's confirmation enough. So I give it 7 out of 10 if you're using on-screen controls. But if you're using controller, it's an 8. Because it is a really good game. It's really efficient when it comes to running and playing. I find it impressive that I think more games need to do a financial model like this one. You know, it's refreshing to have a game that doesn't go like, oh, you've reached, you know, wave 10, here's an ad. You've died, you want to continue, here's an ad. It doesn't do any of that. That's why it feels slightly more fleshed out, like a proper game, even though, you know, as I've said, there's not much to it. But just the fact, I mean, there's leaderboards, so you know, who can survive the longest, who can get that score, because it's all about its scores, and it's how long can you survive. Me, not all that long, but I do really enjoy it. I mean, I've been coming back to this for quite some time, and I know obviously this is like the old one, because since this one's come out, they've done Robots Co-op, which is essentially the same thing. I think it's got a little bit of extra content and is multiplayer. So, okay, most people will probably just go for that one over this one anyway. But this one is worth your time, most definitely. I mean, if you don't want to spend any money on it, it will be a game that, regardless of whether you do or not, there's a lot of enjoyment to be had out of it. There really is. So I recommend it. I give it 8 out of 10 if you have any kind of controller. You can use console controllers. I believe I hooked up my a PS4 controller to it, or a PS3, and it worked okay. It's like your mileage will vary when it comes to console controllers with these things, because they can be a bit, for some reason the button layout always seems to be very skew-if. But with this, it's great. When you put your controller in, you go to customize controller, and then it just says what buttons you want to shoot, what button you want. You just, you set it up yourself. So that's really good. So yeah, you can go ahead and beat my measly score there. It's definitely not my best, but yeah, it's still good. It's solid. So thanks for watching. I appreciate your time. Have fun killing robots. You guys take care now.